Welcome back to Mzansi's MMA show. This is the show where two South African comedians talk about MMA. We've messed around with reacting to and promoting major UFC fights. We've messed around with gambling on fights and fake endorsements. Then we thought, hang on, there's an organization that hosts international fights and fighters right here in Johannesburg, the EFC. The EFC has a criminally undersubscribed YouTube channel, guys. Please subscribe to that before I welcome our first ever guest, Wiekus Swart. Wiekus is a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, the owner of Tapout Academy, and a referee in the EFC. Wiekus, welcome to Mzansi's MMA show. How are you today?
I'm very well, thanks, and thanks for having me.
No problem. So, Wiekus, how's it been running a gym during the pandemic?
Yeah, initially it was incredibly difficult. When the whole lockdown thing came, obviously we were told everything has to shut down, and that obviously happened. I was very lucky that 90% of my students, the first month, they told me they're going to keep paying. I think they realized that if they don't support the gym and the gym closes down, there's a big problem. So that went well for the first, say, month and a half. But then obviously with the whole lockdown thing, people started losing jobs. People were put on half salaries, all kinds of things like that happened. And then a whole lot of people had to cancel. We survived somehow. We managed to survive. It was difficult. But the good thing is once we opened up again, everyone came back really quickly. And we've been kind of, stop starting as COVID locks down. And we, it's been a couple of, we also had a massive COVID breakout in the gym, which we actually got from a grappling competition. We went to compete at the ADCC, and someone from Durban brought the virus along, and a whole lot of our competitors got it, and we gave it to literally the entire gym. It spread like wildfire. Other than that, we've had no breakouts in the gym. We've been very safe. We've been very careful. That's the only time we actually got it. So we had to shut down the gym for 2 weeks then as well. But yeah, we've been, somehow we've actually been very, very busy. The Oaks are very keen to train. And yeah, I think I've been very blessed.
Brilliant.
Nice. Sweet. Tell me, Wiekus, I've been watching the Olympics, and it's so obviously noticeable that due to our many lockdowns, our very restrictions on training and meeting up in groups and so forth, I've noticed that all our Olympic teams have pretty much underperformed in every sport. The hockey's been terrible, the water polo's been terrible, the athletics hasn't been functioning, nothing really going our way over there. Do you think the athletes in South Africa have been adversely affected, like in terms of like if we had to compete on the international stage at this point? Do you think our standards are there? Do you think we've dropped behind? Do you think there's catching up to do? Like, what's the state of our athletes?
I think it's not only our country. I think all countries had the same kind of lockdown problems, but I still think that our major problem in South Africa with all of our sport is the funding. I mean, if you take America, for instance, and you look at their wrestling team, they get everything they want. Every top coach, top paid for, the athletes are paid for, all their supplements are paid for, everything. The sponsoring that goes across the board for all the sports is 100 times what we get. And then you get a sport like hockey, for instance. I mean, they have to pay for themselves to get there. It's just, I don't think it's a fair level playing field for our sportsmen until our country can put more money into our sporting athletes. We're always going to struggle.
Yeah,
Awesome.
Yeah, no, I hear what you're saying.
So, because I know that Liam Cleland was the champ at some point in the EFC, but otherwise, how are the Tapout guys doing in the EFC or other organizations?
So I've had Zulu Boy was with me when he won the title.
Awesome.
Then Liam won the title with me. Then after that, we had a guy called Gunter Kalunda, who won the welterweight title under us as well. But I've been moving away from the whole MMA scene. I'm focusing a lot more on jiu-jitsu. We do still teach the MMA classes. We have the Muay Thai / boxing MMA classes and stuff, but I'm not trying to get people back in the EFC anymore. I found that the time and effort I put into it, I never got anything out of it.
Oh, okay.
It's just a time sink. You just spend so much time on these guys. And unfortunately, in my experience, MMA guys are what I call 1%ers. So basically, if an MMA guy thinks that the gym down the road can give him 1% better training, he'll move.
Right.
They're only about themselves, whereas the jiu-jitsu guys, they're more there for a family vibe. They know that, jiu-jitsu, it's a long journey. You've got 10 years, 12 years, 15 years to get your black belt and train. There's no rush. The MMA guy, he wants to get as good as he can in 6 months. So he's looking for the quick fix. How can I get better quicker? And there's just no loyalty. And so, yeah, I'm done with those guys. I'm literally just focused on jiu-jitsu. I'm as happy as I've ever been. And we compete in jiu-jitsu and we do very well. And the family vibe is just, I can't compare that to, I would rather have the family vibe than have 20 EFC fights, EFC champs.
Right.
So yeah, for me, it's a lot better.
Yeah.
And then Wiekus, sorry, if I may, so I know you said you're not too interested in maybe like being with the MMA guys in terms of a gym and so forth, but the refereeing, I know my colleague did tell me that you are a ref in the EFC. Will that be continuing?
Absolutely. I love reffing. I got into it by pure fluke. I think it was EFC 6 when Graham Cotnell came to the gym looking for fighters. That was when I introduced him to Liam. And then he said, our referee, we fired one of our referees. I don't know the story about who it was. I know who it was, but I don't understand what happened. And I made a joke and I said, I'll referee for you. And he phoned me like a week later and asked me to come through to the EFC headquarters. And I thought it was to speak about Liam, because obviously they wanted Liam to fight. And when I got there, he introduced me to the entire firm as the new referee. So I was like, what? So I had to go and watch videos. I had to go and look up the rules. I had to go and watch the UFC refs moving around, what they do, how they do it. I had no idea. So they threw me in the deep end, but I absolutely love reffing. And yeah, I reffed now the recent one, which was, I think, a month ago. And there's another event coming up in 2 weeks and I'll be reffing again. So absolutely, for as long as I can ref, I'll keep reffing.
No, that's EFC 88 coming up. I think it's the 14th of August, if I'm not mistaken. Because I just want to actually jump onto something you were mentioning over there. You were saying about the loyalty between the MMA guys. I recently watched an interview with Dricus du Plessis in the UFC where they actually asked him, Dricus, if you want to improve your MMA, are you considering moving to the United States, joining a team over there? And Dricus actually said outrightly, guys, I'm not changing anything. My team is what got me here. I'm sticking to my team. I'll be training in South Africa. We can take trips. Do you like that kind of attitude? Do you want to see more of that kind of attitude in the sport?
I think I know Dricus well. He's an absolute gentleman. He's incredibly down to earth and humble. And I think if I had students like that, I wouldn't have ended up going more into jiu-jitsu. I would have stuck with the MMA guys, because you get a lot of reward for something like that. He's definitely one of the few. Most of the guys would jump ship if they got the chance.
Wow.
So, yeah.
So because I think that the public's perception is that like an MMA gym is like full of these aggressive assholes kind of thing, right? And I found the atmosphere at Tapout like really friendly and respectful. So what do you think of all the trash talk that's taking over like the UFC and that, given that MMA is a respect sport?
So I think it depends which gym you go to. I've had teenagers come to my gym and they're scared to come inside the gym. And then when I ask them like why, they will name a gym and say, no, we went here and we got the living daylights beaten out of us. So it's definitely not a common thing to have a friendly MMA gym. Most of them are full of testosterone, full of, I can beat you, I can do this. And a lot of gyms also, they like to break down the new students and show them exactly who is the boss. So they have what they call enforcers, who their job is to rough up the new guy and make the new guy know that this gym is not a joke. And yeah, we don't work like that. I mean, Fred, you trained with us, we don't garner that through fear. We garner through respect. We teach each other, we show each other what we can do, and we help each other out. But no, there's a lot of gyms out there that are exactly how you mentioned it. They like to show the boss and stuff. Yeah.
Because I thought like all gyms were like Tapout Academy. So I was like, I'll go train anyway, kind of thing. Okay. Good to know.
I've heard some horror stories. I've seen it for myself as well. Okay. Look, I'm not saying I'm not putting everyone in a basket. I'm saying there are many gyms that are like mine where they work like that, but there are definitely the gyms on the other side where you better go take your mouth guard when you get there and be ready for a tough time.
On day one.
Yeah.
That's cool. And then I just want to jump on again about we were talking about funding in South Africa. Funding is always going to be a problem, no matter what topic you bring up. It's always going to be we don't have money, right? But I have noticed that in general, MMA does seem to be growing exponentially in the world on all levels. I mean, obviously the UFC, we can talk about that endlessly, but also other organizations, so forth. Tell me, what is the market looking like for mixed martial arts in South Africa at the moment?
So there's a lot of will. There's a lot of people that want to do MMA. There's a lot of interest. I get so many messages every week. I want to be a cage fighter. Help me be a cage fighter. But the problem is a lot of these people don't have money. So they want me to make him a cage fighter, but they can't pay me. And they don't realize that I earn a living through teaching. That's how I survive. So these people a lot of them come from North Africa or Africa, and they rock up here and they're like, hey, mate, I'll be a champion, I promise, but you need to get me there. And that means you have to house him, you have to feed him, you have to do all that stuff. They honestly think we are like millionaires that are just doing this for fun. That's how the perception is for these athletes. And unfortunately, the money in the country at the moment is very poor. First of all, you've got to go through the amateur division, which doesn't pay at all. You have to get at least 7 or 8 wins. And then you factor in COVID and the events keep getting cancelled. You might get that in 4 years, 3 or 4 years. How are you going to get 8 fights if COVID keeps cancelling the events? Then you get to EFC, and EFC at the moment haven't got the buying power that they should have. They're struggling to get back on their feet. So that means that the fighter needs to get a sponsor. He needs to get someone to pay him monthly, plus supplements and all that. It's incredibly difficult.
Yeah, and then the audience. What is the fan buy into the sport? Are people buying tickets? Are they viewing online? Are they buying the merchandise? What is the audience buy? The fan buy in at this point for the EFC and MMA in general? Then.
Yeah, so the EFC, we're not allowed to have any fans, literally not a single fan. So the last 3 events we had was at their performance center. They usually hosted at Carnival City. So it's not even at Carnival City anymore. They're hosting it at their performance center. And it's basically just the fighters, the cutmen, the cornermen, and that's it. So there's no, so until we can get past the COVID situation, we can bring back fans, there are none. They're lucky for the EFC that they have got the showing on DSTV. So I don't know the numbers there, but I obviously have to get hold of DSTV to find out how popular it is. But I think it's popular. I mean, there's a lot of interest in MMA in South Africa. I think we're as a nation we're tough. We play rugby. We do a lot of the tough sports. So I think it falls into us easily to do MMA. I think it comes easy to our nation.
Awesome. So yeah, I mean, just to remind everyone that EFC 88 is coming up, and it's, you can just go on their website. You can subscribe to a monthly package, and I was really impressed at how many options there actually are to watch the events. I mean, they're broadcasting to African countries and all that. So I personally am very impressed with the standard of the organization. But will you be reffing at EFC 88? And also, which fights are you looking forward to?
I am definitely reffing at 88. I'm actually blank on what fights are being. No, there's the 2 heavyweights are fighting.
I can just quickly give you. So it's Ndebela versus Njikasa. It's Bazaidanos and Masholas. One fight I know has been cancelled and replaced, but what we have here online at the moment, there'll be Jailson, D, and Henning. So those are the top 3 fights happening.
That's going to be a good fight. That Henning guy is a sleeper. Hey, people always underestimate him because he kind of walks real like slow. You must see him at the EFC. He walks like this, and he kind of like so it's very funny. But when he gets in the cage, he's a beast, eh? That kid can fight. I hope I get to ref that one. I hate reffing heavyweights. I absolutely hate it. It is my biggest, like I always think about, please don't give me heavyweights, because I mean they a bit slow, and they hang on to each other, and they get tired quickly, and so that's my least. Give me the small fast guys any day. So
that's true. You're quite a hands-on ref, because like you're always ready to jump in and show some of your jiu-jitsu skills. So and like do you find reffing like exciting? Like, are you in the middle of reffing and being like, wow, this fight's so great? So like, where do you draw the line between being a ref and a spectator kind of thing?
A fan.
Yeah, I've seen some crazy things in the cage itself, and I've even thought to myself, wow, that was well done, or this was amazing. So I'm definitely a dual phase. I'm definitely watching the amazing events happen. And even sometimes, being a jiu-jitsu black belt, I'll watch him do stuff, and I'll think to myself, why doesn't the guy just step over his head? Or why does it all the time? But at the same time,
you're gonna tell him during the fight, like step over. You're gonna tell him.
But at the same time, I'm very what's the word? I'm incredibly ready. So like my heart rate is very high, because I don't want to be complacent in that. I want to be kind of like, something happens and then you got to kind of wake yourself up. So it's like I'm idling really high. So if something happens, I can react very quickly. And like someone can knock someone out in a blink of an eye, and then the other guy, he'll jump on and start hitting the guy some more. So you have to be really on. So as much as I'm enjoying it, I'm incredibly alert as to whatever could happen.
Yeah, can I add a question onto that? So my question in that situation, you're talking about staying alert, staying ready, making split-second decisions at the right moments. It's very important for a referee. There's a couple of instances of fight stoppages where people say, oh, this fight, the ref stopped the fight too early. Then in other fights, they say, oh, the ref stopped the fight too late. It's really a catch-22. How do you reach decisions on a potential stoppage?
So when it's a striking type scenario, and the one hook hits the other guy, and I see his eyes roll back. So basically, he is unconscious. I will jump in immediately. However, sometimes, and this is where the crowd doesn't realize what happened. Sometimes, when someone gets knocked out and their head hits the canvas, they actually wake up. So for like half a second, the guy's asleep. He hits his head. He wakes up, and he wants to continue fighting. But he was unconscious. And what he doesn't realize is the guy that hit him, if I hadn't stopped him, he would have hit him again while he was unconscious. So their waking up doesn't actually save him. He only woke up and was able to continue because the guy had stopped hitting him. And people don't realize that. They think, the guy recovered quickly, but if I hadn't stopped the guy, he would have kept hitting you. That's the one thing I look at. And the other thing is I'll stop a fight if the guy that's getting punished or getting beaten is unable to defend himself intelligently. So he's trying to run away, or he's turning his back and just hoping for the best. As soon as I see that he's not actually trying to escape a situation, then I'll stop the fight as well. But every ref is slightly different. Every ref kind of does it according to his own kind of methodologies.
Yeah, cool, man. Cool. And what is the craziest thing that you have seen while reffing in the octagon?
So I don't know if you guys remember the fight between Wiekus's teammate, he's now a Cairo, Michiel Opperman. Michiel Opperman fought that guy from England, Bahati. What's his first name? Big, muscular guy. Anyway, I can't think of his name, but he was a British guy, always talked trash, and basically at the weigh-ins, he pinched Michiel's nipple and said something derogatory about his girlfriend. I don't remember what it was. And when the fight broke out, I mean, this guy was a lot bigger than Michiel. He was just muscles. And Michiel just pushed him up against the cage and just started unloading on him. And he caught him with an uppercut that knocked him cold, cold. And Michiel just kept hitting him. And I was the ref, and I put my hands on Michiel to tell him that it's done, it's over, and he just didn't stop. He just kept hitting the guy. And I actually had to physically do like a judo throw. I had to throw Michiel over me to basically get him to stop hitting the guy. So that was pretty much the most wildest thing.
Wow.
They actually gave me throw of the night. The EFC gave me
performance of the night.
Yeah, I was quite surprised. So, yeah.
That's
awesome.
crazy. And I assume that the guy who continues punching in that situation, is that like a lifetime ban or something?
So the whole thing is you can keep hitting the guy until the referee intervenes. Right?
Yeah.
So obviously I tried to intervene by putting my hands on him and saying, hey, the fight's over. But he just carried on, and then I reacted by taking him off. If after that he had dived over me and hit the guy again, then there could have been like, oh, is he going to get a couple of fights banned? Is he going to get does he have to pay a penalty or something like that?
Yeah, because that's potentially a life and death situation then, right? Because I mean, you can potentially kill someone like that. Cool, man.
For sure.
Sweet. All right, Fred.
So because like you're obviously in pretty good shape, and you've been doing martial arts for a long time. Is that a requirement for most of the refs? I mean, will most refs have to step in? Like I see there's a female ref in the EFC. So I mean, is like you say, each ref has got their own style, but does each ref sort of realize that they're in a cage with some pretty dangerous people and they need to, be able to handle themselves?
Yeah, I reckon even if you look at the UFC referees, there isn't, most of them are all quite fit and in shape. And I think obviously you need to realize you've got to maybe pull someone off, pull one fighter off another fighter, or get in there quickly. And if you're not fit and stuff, it's going to take, it's going to be much worse. So most of the rest I know on this side are definitely all in shape.
Brilliant.
Right, sweet. And then I want to ask you, because you are obviously, as you said, you specialize in jiu-jitsu, in the jiu-jitsu area. Tell me, as fighting in mixed martial arts, fighting in the cage, I see currently there's a trend like in the UFC where the wrestlers seem to be dominating. So they are the more dominant fighting style, almost so to speak. Speaking of fighting styles, like how do you rank a fighter coming into competition? What would you say? Focus on these fighting styles first, and then perhaps focus on the others later. Like how would you prioritize the skill set going into a professional fighting athlete?
So a lot of fighters come with some kind of a background already. It's very rare that you get someone these days that comes with no background. So a lot of the fighters come with a stand-up background, where they were kickboxers or boxers or whatever, or you get a guy that was a judo guy or maybe a wrestler. So depending on what they are, you will then kind of mold the style around them. Obviously for the striker, he will need to learn the wrestling and the jiu-jitsu portion. The wrestler, he will need to learn submissions or how to defend submissions, because you can't, it doesn't matter if you're a good wrestler, but you can't avoid submissions. So you'll need to learn how to get out of chokes and joint locks and all that kind of thing. So it is quite rare. If you do get someone that hasn't learned anything, then what happens, it's a blank slate, and you start teaching him each thing, and you'll see he will normally fall into one of the categories. Like he'll be like gifted at jiu-jitsu. And you go, okay, he's good at stand-up and he's good at wrestling, but jiu-jitsu is where he's really strong. And then you work that, you make that his best asset, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So you almost everybody will have something that they're better at than others. It's very rare. I think GSP may have been one of the rare guys who was as good at wrestling, stand-up, and jiu-jitsu. But most of the guys, Anderson Silva, more of a striker. Each guy you'll see, Daniel Cormier, more of a wrestler. So each of the champions will favor one thing. And that's what they need to pretty much make sure is their best asset.
Awesome.
Yeah, true that. I've noticed that in Africa per se, I've watched a couple of the African fights when like the Kenyans fight or the Nigerian guys come to fight and so forth, and they always seem very striking heavy. But soon as they get taken down onto the ground, it's like this guy hasn't fought a day in his life.
Yeah, even the Congolese guys, they have a very good judo background. So they can throw and they can take down like crazy. But when it gets to the ground, it's like they don't practice the groundwork there. Congo or in even Angola as well. They got some kind of judo guys, but it seems like they're much more worried about the throwing part of judo, because when it gets to the ground, they need to be taught a lot.
All right, sweet, cool, Fred.
Cool, Prince. Do you have any other questions? I think I'm about ready to wrap up. I think.
I'm super excited, man, because thank you so much for chatting to us. I really enjoyed this. I hope we can do it again sometime in the future, especially when COVID is gone, the fans are back, the vibe is back, the energy is back, and I think we can, have some personal interviews, maybe in person, so forth. But thank you so much for joining us today.
Absolute pleasure, guys, and thank you so much for having me. And yeah, I'd absolutely love to speak to you guys again one day.
Awesome, cool.
Sweet.
So let me just do the outro here quickly. So thanks, guys, for watching Mzansi's MMA show. From now on, we're talking to people involved in MMA like Wiekus. If you guys or girls need to learn how to fight and get toned, go to Tapout Academy and learn in a friendly environment. Don't miss EFC 88 on August 14th, where Wiekus is reffing, and subscribe to the EFC's channel, guys. And like, comment, and subscribe on our channel. We'll be back with another guest soon. Thank you very much, everyone, and peace out.